Injaz inspires and prepares young people, youth, to be prepared for global economy. And we do that by introducing different programs that teach students entrepreneurship, financial literacy, workforce readiness inside the classrooms. And we use volunteers from private sector with their professional experience to implement the program inside the classroom and link work and academia. So work would make sense to students before even graduating. It would help them in guiding their career, choosing their path. So volunteers, private sector volunteers would inspire students to become like them. Volunteers become role models to these students. The immediate impact is learning the term volunteer or volunteer from day one, from the first minute. We know what is volunteering, but to be honest, not a lot of people volunteer. They talk about it, but they don't participate. So students learn from the first moment what is a volunteer, and they meet an actual volunteer, an actual local volunteer. So that is the first lesson learned with students. And then the second lesson would be learning about private sector. What is a company? What is private sector? What are the companies in their local communities? And what does these companies do? What type of operations? And then we end it, what are the opportunities for students in private sector, or how can they start their own business? Now the inspiration comes from believing that they can. After meeting someone who already did make it. We always have students, when we ask them, where do you see yourself in 25 years? And 80% of the answers are usually careers that has to do with a government job. Now that is not wrong in the sense that they want to work for the government, but government is not the only option. We want students to think outside of the box. We want our students to think, I want to start my own business, I want to be my own boss. And the only way in doing that by introducing these students to an actual businessman, to an actual entrepreneur, to an actual person who works in private sector. That person later on becomes a role model to these students. The impact then happens after they meet an actual person who actually did it and made it in this path. Basically my message would be, we need your help. We need your assistance to inspire and prepare future leaders, our youth, I would say, most valuable capital, our human capital. These students will end up leading our countries one day. So we want the volunteers to help them, guide them in, I would say, a successful career path. We want our students to be passionate about work. And it's a golden combination, I would call it, when we have a volunteer from private sector introducing private sector to students. And we can't do that unless we have private sector volunteers.